Welcome to the More We Know podcast with your host and social media influencer, Mir. Gen Zs and millennials need information now. That is why Mir is bringing in experts from all around the world. Because the more we know, the more we learn, and the more we earn. Here is your host now. Enjoy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the More We Know podcast. I'm your host Mir. I hope you guys are having an amazing day listening to this right now, and I hope you guys are crushing your goals. Today we have a truly exceptional guest. This woman is amazing. She's a superstar. She's one of the book industry's go-to fashion authors. She wrote 6 books, and you may know her for one of her most popular books, Project Runway, the show that changed fashion back in 2012. She's also the author of many more books like How to Win at Shopping, 297 Insider Secrets for Getting the Style You Want at the Price You Want to Pay. She's worked with many of the top names in fashion, including Michael Kors, Tommy Hilfiger, Donna Karan, Naomi Campbell, Fern Mallis, Ralph Rucci, Heidi Klum, Rachel Roy, Kenneth Cole, and many more. She has been tapped for her expertise on the fashion industry by the New York Times, Marie Claire Magazine, Glamour, People Style Watch, The Huffington Post, Elle Canada, Zinc Magazine, and many more. She's been featured on over 100 television and radio shows, including CBC The Insider, The Better Show, Hollywood 411, The Mark, and Bryant Show, and The Morning Jolt. She's been a contributor for many of the top-rated fashion websites, including Tyra Banks, Typeit.com. Eila is a contributor to Runway Magazine, as well as the on-camera correspondent for Runway TV. And we want to thank you for being on today.
Well, thank you for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm good.
So, kind of before we get into everything fashion and you being an accomplished author and, a consultant to the fashion industry, can you walk us through, who you were as a child, where you grew up, your family?
Sure. I grew up in Queens, New York, in Howard Beach. It's like a remote corner in South Queens. And so as a kid, I had no interest in writing. I was an actor for 10 years. So that was, what I thought I would do for my whole life.
Right.
And so at some point, it wasn't making me happy anymore. It was actually making me very unhappy. And I just decided I have to do something else. And it was crazy because that's all I had ever done. And, I felt like, well, if this isn't who I am, then who am I? And, I had to figure that out. But once I started doing what I really wanted, which was writing, I had an idea for a book and I just jumped right in. My life changed almost immediately. I was so much happier.
Wow. That's amazing. And on that concept of finding out who you were, was this high school, college? When was this process starting? You were asking yourself.
This was sort of immediately after college.
Okay. Where did you go to college?
I went to Queens College.
Okay.
In the CUNY system.
Okay, how'd you like it there?
It was great. I had a fantastic time. I really wasn't concerned about what was going to happen post-college. So I was sort of just there having a ton of fun. And, I really jumped into my major, which was theater, because I had been an actor and was acting still at that time. So it was a great experience, but it didn't really prepare me for life at all.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people feel that graduating college that they don't get prepared for life.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much depth they go into, and
right.
A mission or value or something getting out with that preparation.
Yeah, I mean, part of it was my fault because I didn't really understand too much because I had been acting for such a long time that was the only thing I was focused on, and I didn't understand that college could really give you a path. And, if you want to be an actor, you don't need to go to college. You can just start acting. So you can save a lot of money. But, it made me a more well-rounded person. So for that, it was really instrumental.
And how about your parents? Were they supportive of your journey of acting?
They were, but, they had to work. So I was the kid who was doing it all myself. I was taking, the subway into Manhattan by myself at a very young age. And I went to high school in Manhattan. So, I did not have stage parents. I didn't have anyone taking me anywhere, helping me with anything. My parents were busy.
Wow. So you were you had to be your own mentor and your own guidance, right?
Yes, but it helped me so much in the career I have now because as a writer, you have to be your own advocate. You have to, it's like starting your own business. You have to think business wise as well as creatively. So it really prepared me.
And can you talk about that transition from going into acting to writing?
Yeah, so my writing came out of my acting, actually. I had been up for a part on a soap opera called As the World Turns. And so, I got close to this role, and it went to another actress who was unknown at the time. But, when you lose a big part to someone, you always want to see who it is who gets it. So, so I looked and I saw it was this actress no one ever heard of called Parker Posey, who of course went on to have a fantastic career. Mm-hmm. And so after the soap, she did this movie called Party Girl. And that was something that I would have loved to do. And so it gave me the idea to do a book about stories about people who were almost cast in roles that went to other people. So I was really determined, and I decided that's what I was going to do. And I wasn't going to stop until it happened.
And that's an important. Hey, what's going on, everybody? If you're enjoying the More We Know podcast in this episode with Eila Mell, and you need some coffee or just espresso needs, whether it's a machine or daily fresh brewed coffee beans, go to crankshaft.roasters.com and type in code MERE10 for 10% off your Crankshaft order. This is an exclusive offer for all my listeners. Thank you guys for listening, and enjoy your Crankshaft. Concept that if you can't touch on about being determined, because aren't there so many no's along that process and rejections, and doesn't that self-doubt sometimes come into play?
I had 8 years of no's. It took that long from the idea to getting published. Yeah, you have to be determined because no one else is going to care if you don't care. And you have to push and push and push. And every single day you have to think, what can I do to get where I want to get?
And what, other than being determined, what kept you going after, year 3, year 4, where the rejection kept coming? What kept you pushed through that process?
I figured that time is going to go by either way, so I might as well keep trying to do what I wanted to do.
Right. That makes sense. And then, it led to your book, The Project Runway, correct?
Yes. Not right away, but yeah, that was my fourth book.
Fourth book?
Yeah.
Okay. And would you consider that your most popular book, the book that accomplished the most in terms of?
Probably that. And I also have another book called New York Fashion Week, which has been, has done well.
Okay.
But yeah, Project Runway, because it's such a brand name at this point. Yes, absolutely.
And so have you been involved in the show as well?
When I was writing the book, yes, but not in the production of the show. Only, I was only invited into the show because I was doing the book.
And that process of getting such a popular book with all those ratings, what was that process like, where after, this is your fourth book, you've had so many years of tough times, rejections. What's that feeling like when it's finally out there, you see your name, it's paying off? How does that feel?
Oh my gosh, it's the best thing in the world. I mean, it's such a personal victory. It's just, yeah, it's great.
I can only imagine. And can you talk about the Project Runway book? I mean, how did that come into fruition?
Well, I had just finished the New York Fashion Week book, and my editor on that book, her dream project was to do a Project Runway book. And I was so lucky that she thought of me to write it. So she brought me into that, and it was a dream. I mean, I was so happy to do that because I had watched the show from day one anyway. So, we worked together with the show, and it was just an incredible experience. We worked with almost everyone involved with the show, and I'm very proud of that book.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What about your book, How to Win at Fashion?
Well, it's called How to Win at Shopping.
How to Win at Shopping, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So that's something I definitely had a lifetime of experience leading up to writing. That's a fun book because it's just about maybe 1,000 tips and tricks for really being the best shopper that you can be. Mm-hmm. And it's a small size so you can throw it in your bag and take it with you. So it tells you tricks on, doing well in the fitting room. It tells you things that the store is doing to you to manipulate you, like be careful of the carpeted areas in the store because they slow you down. So you're never going to find a sale where there's carpeting in a store. And it's just all things like that. And it's a lot of fun.
That is really cool. I mean, clearly you're very passionate about it. I can just tell in your voice and everything that you've done.
Yeah, I absolutely love it.
So outside of the books, what does fashion mean to you?
I find just every day getting dressed is an opportunity, and it's just, it's something that's so much fun for me, and it's a way to express yourself and be creative. And it's something I've always been interested in, but I didn't realize as a kid that that was something that you could do for a living. And I was so focused in other areas, but it's really always something I've had a passion for.
I just think what you just said there about when you were a kid, you didn't realize it's something you could do for a living. That's such an important concept, especially for the kids today graduating, because a lot of people are going into jobs that they don't like, and
Yes.
questioning their existence in those jobs. But it's so empowering to see someone like you, which is just amazing that you were able to have that passion. You clearly love fashion and be able to do this for your career.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's so important, I think, to try to do what you want to do, especially when you're starting out, when you don't have a lot of responsibility in your life, other than to yourself. Just go for what you love, because, what if it works out? And if you don't try, you're never going to do it.
I mean, like, what do you have to lose at that young age, right? It's
exactly. Yeah. And do internships and do anything. Don't worry about money right away.
That's an important concept too, because people do worry about money so much and what their friends are driving or where they're living. I mean, that's such an important concept too, because at the start you want to focus on just working and getting your feet wet, right? I mean,
absolutely. Yeah. Making the right contacts is important. Finding people, who believe in you. It's really, really important. And in the short term, it might not pay off, but in the long term, you'll be better for it, I think.
And then I always find it fascinating, people who are actors, how business savvy they are. Because I feel like actors, they deal with rejection, they deal with the doubt, they deal with, you have to be able to sell yourself and present yourself. So I'm sure that helped you transition into your business world.
Oh, absolutely. The mindset you have to have as an actor was so valuable to me as a writer, because it made me so focused and really went after what I wanted. And I have a reputation of being somewhat tenacious, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah. So talk to me outside of the books, the process before that, the actual writing, how does that process work exactly? Because you have, we can sit back and look at your amazing accomplishments with the books, but what about the process before, like building the house? I mean, do you sit there and you just start writing? What's the process like?
Yes, it's a little bit different now than it was when I first started. When I first started, I knew that no one would care about an idea that I had, because no one knew who I was. I was, 22, and I was trying to figure out what I was doing, and, it didn't matter. So I knew I had to write the whole book first and sell that as a product. And so that's what I did, and that worked out. But now it's different. Now that, I am established and people know who I am, some people, I can go with an idea, and then you flesh it out into a proposal, and you bring that to a publisher, and you maybe write a few sample chapters. But so it's a little bit different now. It's easier now, but still not easy, obviously. But it's once you have the proposal, you sort of have the framework laid out for writing the book. So it's really valuable.
Yeah. And you talked about a few minutes ago about building that network when you're young too. How important was the network that you built and the connections within
that was something I learned along the way. So I didn't have a network at first. I had me. That was it. I had me and my determination, which was strong. So it wasn't really until I got into the books about fashion, because I wrote the book about casting. I wrote 2 books about casting first. So that was television and film. And then when I got into the New York Fashion Week book, then I really started to build up contacts. And that was an area that really welcomed me. And so that's why I stayed in that lane. And plus, I love it.
That's amazing. And just the combination of you loving it. I mean, it's so motivating to hear for me, and I'm sure the audience when they watch this.
Thank you.
Of course. And on the topic of fashion, I mean, how much has the fashion industry changed in the last 10 years, especially with...
It's completely different from when I started. When I first started writing the Fashion Week book, Twitter was brand new. I mean, it's crazy. We were still in Bryant Park, and there was like a ticker going across with people's tweets. It was that new that it was, a thing. And so people weren't used to seeing fashion immediately right away. So, there was time after a runway show before the images got out there. Now people see it the second it hits the runway. People are live streaming. And so they expect the product right away. And they don't want to wait until it comes into stores to buy it. So the whole industry is changing. And I think especially now that stores are closing and people don't want to, they want to shop more online, everything is going to be very different even in a couple of years.
Yeah. And it's just, you see all these different, JCPenney went bankrupt recently. There's a lot of bankruptcies happening. Macy's is under the water. There's so much uncertainty going forward.
Even Marcus, yeah.
Marcus. So it's insane to see that. With the trend of online shopping, is that changing the way people shop in terms of, I always thought that people like to go in and try the clothes on. You think that why did that change? Is it just because of things like Amazon and e-commerce that people shoot?
Yeah, it's convenience for sure. But what's so interesting to me, because I like to try things on too, I like to see how they look, and I don't like to go to the post office, so I don't like to return stuff. But I know that people are still going into the stores, trying stuff on, and then going home and buying it online. So it's such a weird thing. It's right there. You can take it home. You can have it immediately, but they don't do it. I don't understand it. I mean, if you're already in the store, why wouldn't you take it?
100%.
But it's hurting the industry because the salespeople aren't getting commissions and they're not making money. And it's kind of not in a good state.
Yeah. So where do you think we're headed in the next 5 years?
I think we're going to see a lot more online shopping. I think that stores might not even carry merchandise. You might go in just to try on, like they will have one of each size, and then they can fulfill the orders right there. I think that may be a trend. I don't know. I guess we're going to see, but I definitely think there's going to be less of their traditional shopping, as we know it now.
Yeah. And then for you as an accomplished fashion consultant as well, is this also an opportunity for you?
I guess anything could be an opportunity, but absolutely when things are changing, it's something you want to document.
Absolutely. What about in the future? Any future books that you're planning?
Yes, actually, I have 3 books that are in the works at the moment. I can't really talk about them too much because, they're not ready yet. But I'd be happy to come back and tell you when they are.
Yeah, we need to...
But yeah, I kind of like to keep busy. So yes, I have a lot going on.
And that, we talked a little bit earlier about the process of writing the books. When you're doing that, what about your mental state? Do you kind of block everything, Instagram, Twitter, all that? Are you just in the zone when you're doing it on your own?
I never would block Instagram. I love it. But no, I am very focused when I'm writing. Absolutely. It sort of takes over. But I mean, that's just my personality. I love it that way. It just consumes me when I'm doing something. So I'm all in with the project.
That's fantastic to hear. Now, fast forward to today in these current times and conditions, the coronavirus pandemic, what type of toll did that take, in the industry overall, obviously other than retail stores closing, especially you being at the epicenter in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
You saw all this. What type of effect did that have on you, just seeing that, being in the global?
It's a time of uncertainty for sure. And no one's even really getting dressed right now. So I feel like there really isn't much fashion at the moment. But it will be back. It'll come back, and it's something. It's such a simple way to make people happy. Just when you feel like you're dressed well, you feel better. So it's something that people are going to need when we get back out into the world. Obviously, everyone gets dressed every day, so everyone deals with fashion, whether or not they enjoy it or even care about it. You still have to deal with it. So it's something that's not going to go away, thankfully.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you so much in that, because for me, back in the day when I was 300 plus pounds, I hated anything fashion because I couldn't wear stuff. I couldn't try it on. It just, stuff didn't fit. After losing 100 plus pounds,
Wow.
I love the fat, like just trying different things on, trying different colors. Even with suits, you start seeing the different type of Italian mills. I mean, there's just so many cool things about the fashion industry, and there's a sense of empowerment, I feel like, when you dress good and feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just feel different, which is great. But I think it's also good that fashion is evolving, and it's embracing all sizes now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point too. And on the topic of just socially within fashion, what about the impacts of organizations like PETA that looked at fashion and the different things of people with the animal abuse? I mean, how do you feel about that type of area with fashion? It's kind of taboo.
Um,
Yeah, can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you. You froze up for a second, but you're good now. Can you just ask me the question one more time?
Yeah, so essentially, you look at the different organizations that talk about the animal abuse.
Yeah.
The Goose was under some heat for some time. How do you feel about, the balance of fashion and expressing yourself, but at the same time, the animals that unfortunately lose their lives in the process of some of that designer fashion?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a perfect world if no animals had to die for fashion. I truly believe that. But, I wear leather, I wear fur. I don't buy fur, but if it's inherited, I do wear it. And so, I don't really feel like I want to speak out too much because I don't want to be a hypocrite, but ideally, absolutely. I mean, I love animals and I wish that there was a better way. And people like Stella McCartney are doing amazing work without harming any animals. So it could go that way, and I hope that it does.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. And then you talked about, because a lot of that, that designer clothing is the Neiman Marcus, at those stores, the Saks Fifth. With the store like Neiman Marcus going bankrupt, is there this trend of people just not wanting to buy expensive clothing anymore, or what's happening in that trend? Are people just wanting to go towards discount retailers more?
I don't think so, but it's so interesting because usually in times of, economic strife, luxury has always survived, and actually it's thrived.
Mhm.
And now not so much. So this is a little bit different. So I think we have to see what's going to happen. But I think that people are more interested in sort of a mix of high and low, but that's been happening for a while too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish I had the answer, but it's definitely interesting.
Absolutely. How are you in these times now? How are you keeping busy outside of writing your books that we're going to hear about, in the future? How are you keeping busy now?
Well, I mean, that is my main thing. So I'm working more than I have been. So that's, I'm very fortunate in that. Um, and then just trying to stay in touch with people as best I can.
Yeah,
I think, the same thing that everybody else is doing.
absolutely. No, that makes complete sense. And in kind of looking towards the college generation in the audience, you gave a lot of great insight. But for people watching this, what insider advice can you give them, that the graduating seniors now?
So I would say, don't worry about how long it takes you to accomplish something. Don't put, I need to do this by this age, because it doesn't matter. You're going to see later in life, nobody cares how old you are when you accomplish something. Go after what you want, but really go after it. So if you're going to pursue what you love, then every day do something to make it happen, and don't stop until you want to stop. or until you get there. And it's okay to change your mind about what you want too. You can, you don't have to do what you thought you would do starting out.
And then at the same time, it's okay if you have a job, right, to fund your passion at the same time, right? I mean, that's
even better. Yeah, absolutely.
to build
That's the best case scenario.
Yeah, right? No, definitely. And that part about going after you want, but really going after it, you're talking about, some people have these large ambitions and dreams, but they don't really act on it like someone like you has. Like you've said something, right? You've spoken it into existence, but you also acted on it day in and day out.
Well, that's the point. And when I decided I wanted to write, I told very few people about it because I didn't know if I would follow through, first of all. And second, I didn't want to get any kind of satisfaction from people thinking it was a cool idea or whatever. I wanted to actually accomplish it before people gave me any kind of feedback. So that was another thing. It was really for me.
What about that feedback? Did you get any negative feedback from people like, no, I don't think this is?
Yes, like every day. I would get feedback saying, well, it's a great idea, but it's not going to work out, and the odds were not in my favor. A very small percentage of books actually get published, but I didn't care. I just until I got to where I wanted, even if I was, 90 when it happened. I just wanted to do it.
That's so powerful. I just feel that so strongly that you just didn't care, that it didn't matter what people said. Now fast forward. I mean, that's just so powerful to hear. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you have to do it for yourself. So it really doesn't matter what other people say.
You ever call back the doubters like, hey, look now?
No, it doesn't matter.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, I just had to take that in. Thank you for that. Going forward, where can people go find your stuff, your books, your articles, the interviews you've done? Where can we go and find and purchase your books first?
All my books are on Amazon. If you just search my name, which is not easy to spell, but if you actually can find my Amazon, all my books are right there on my author page. So that's pretty easy, actually. And then, you can always chat me up on Instagram. I try to respond to everyone who messages me.
Okay. What's your Instagram?
It's at Eila Mell. Very easy.
Okay.
EILAMELL.
Okay. And then you're on Twitter as well?
I am on Twitter, but it links from my Instagram. So people can definitely reach me on Twitter, but definitely Instagram is the way to go for me.
Okay. I think for me, after this, the book that I want to purchase is the How to Win at Shopping. I want to take that insight.
Oh, I think that you will have fun with it. There's all different things. It's a lot of.
So unfortunately, we got cut off here at the end. That's just the reality with technology sometimes. My podcast is all virtual. I want to be one of the first podcasts that, stays virtual and gets to connect with many people from around the world. But I want to thank Eila for her time. This was amazing. And something that I need to brush up on and get more industry knowledge on is fashion, because she's a true expert and I didn't even get to tap in to her true expertise because she knows so much. I mean, she's such a subject matter expert. So make sure you guys go follow her on social media. Give her a message, go buy her book, and just say hi and just thank her for her time on the podcast, because she did provide some gems and it was motivating and inspiring, and definitely hope to bring her back on more. And if you guys want to reach out to me with questions about fashion, we can definitely come back and talk more about fashion, because that's something I need to work on. So thank you guys. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and on YouTube. And follow me on Instagram at samir.sawakid. Thanks, everyone.